Hey YouTube, Matty's Day 12, Team JMT, coming to you guys with another Understanding Stun. And in this one, I'm going to talk about just a single card and what its effects are on the meta. And that card is Skill Drain. Now, a lot of stun decks have been main decking this card for a while. It's not really a stun card. It's kind of more of just an anti-meta card. The difference is stun is a bit more one-for-one trade-off to whittle at your opponent's resources. This doesn't really take away from your opponent's resources. You do have the opportunity to plus with this occasionally, but you don't really eat at your opponent's resources with this. So it's not really a stun card as much as it is just an anti-meta card. It's really just a card for stun decks to use that just answer the meta a little bit. Kind of like what Royal Oppression was. However, Royal Oppression was a little more stun-based. But yeah, just an answer to the meta. So before I talk about what I feel this card's place in the meta is now for the September 2012 ban list, I want to talk about exactly what the card is and what the card does. It's a continuous trap card. For the cost of 1,000 life points, you can negate the effects of all the monsters' effects on the field. Now, there were some decks that can play around that and abuse this, but a lot of them just get wrecked by that. A lot of the cards in the meta, in the past few metas, are just the decks are just so dependent on their monster effects on the field, and this just really stops all of that. So let's talk about a couple of the decks that were able to capitalize the most off of this card. And to start off with, we'll talk about Malefic. Malefic's stun basically made its appearance in an indie YCS, the Gen Con YCS, just a couple years ago. I don't know that it won that event. I believe it top 4'd. I'm not really for certain, but basically the premise was you just bring out these really, really big, beefy monsters and then stopped your opponent from being able to make all their plays with Skill Drain. Again, TG Stun won the Atlanta YCS, also won Nationals a couple years ago, and just has wreaked havoc in a lot of regionals, and another one of the decks that benefited so much off of Skill Drain because all of the monster effects that you really needed to use activated off the field, being able to search and add back to your hand. Another one of the decks kind of similar to the TG Stun was the Beast Stun that kind of made a slow appearance. I believe it was at the Philly YCS, and then became kind of more popular whenever one of the guys from MCO40's channel topped a regional using it in Columbus. But basically, again, you just made your big plays off of your 1900s and your 1800s, and then Skill Drain stopped all of their all of the plays they tried to make. However, these two decks, what they had that this deck didn't have is Horn of the Phantom Beast. Now again, the premise of it was you attach Horn of the Phantom Beast to a Fire Dog or an Ape Fighter or a Flame Tiger or one of those kind of cards, making you have a fairly beefy monster on the field, or you're equipping Horn of the Phantom Beast onto Rush Rhino or maybe Warwolf, I guess, if you'd want it to, or Photon Saber Tiger is another card that TGs could use, or Barbaros. I mean, Barbaros became a 3800 with that. So, I mean, these decks were using Horn of the Phantom Beast also, which gave them their big beefy monster, and then they just sat behind Skill Drain, keeping their opponent from being able to activate their effects. So those are just some of the decks that benefited from Skill Drain. These decks without Skill Drain, I don't know that they were really that great. I don't know that these decks, make it there without Skill Drain. I don't know that this wins Nationals without Skill Drain. I don't know that wins at the YCS, or that wins at the regionals without Skill Drain. Skill Drain put in a lot of work last format. My thoughts on Skill Drain for this format, I don't really think it's going to get you there. I really feel like that if you're building a stun deck, and Skill Drain is your trump card, you're going to come up short. And this is my reasoning for it. Yes, Skill Drain can stop Geargias. Yes, Skill Drain can stop wind-ups. But we're not playing in a format of just 2 decks. We've also got to deal with Heroes. Heroes is getting a lot of play, and Heroes have the ability to play Skill Drain themselves and play around Skill Drain. A lot of their effects activate off the field, much like the TG engine, so they're still able to gain their effects off of Shining. They're still able to gain their effect off of Absolute Zero. They're still able to make a lot of plays. And even with Skill Drain on the field, Shining is still a 2600 beater, and outside of Barbarossa or Blacklist or Soldier, I mean, I really can't think of too many things that you're just going to drop onto the field with Skill Drain that would be able to get over Shining. That is, unless you're playing against Dark Worlds. Of course, Dark Worlds are main decking usually at least one of these, if not 2, and they can bring out a 2700 beater and sometimes a 3000 beater if they have gates on the field. Again, their effects activate off the field, so they're not worried about Skill Drain. And I feel like this is going to be another 50% of our meta. At least a lot of the top tier decks that you're going to see. I really feel like it's shaping up to be Geargia, Wind-Ups, Dark Worlds, and Heroes. I think those are going to be our big top 4 decks, and Skill Drain is lackluster against some of the top 4 decks. Now, once we talked about the top 4, let's not forget about some of these rogue decks. Blackwings have gotten support here recently with Kalute going up to 2, and they can very easily play around Skill Drain. They really don't need Skill Drain to make a lot of their big plays. Now, they can still benefit by their monster effects, Armor Master being able to not be destroyed by battle. But again, when you're sitting with 2 Kalute in hand, or the option of at least 1 Kalute in hand, 2500 plus the 14 is still fairly nice. You really don't need his effect to not be destroyed by battle if you've got Skill Drain and a Kalute. So let's not forget about some of those rogue decks that really aren't hurt by Skill Drain as much as a lot of the rogue decks were last format. So now that I've talked about where we were and where we're at now, let's talk about where we need to be. Let's talk about where we want to get to and what we want to do. And in order to do that, I want to talk about some cards that I think if you were playing a stun deck that was dependent on Skill Drain, this is some of the places where I think you may want to go. I feel like Fiendish Chain gets a lot better in your deck if you don't have the ability to use Skill Drain. You can now pick and choose when you want to stop that effect, and now you can also stop that monster from attacking, which is also a very key, because yeah, you may not be able to stop Grapha's effect, but if you still have that Fiendish Chain whenever Graph is on the field, you can stop it from attacking and buy yourself time to find a way to get rid of the Grapha or the Shining or something along those lines. So I feel like Fiendish Chain is another option that we may want to start looking at a little bit harder. Also, it's really good against the Geargias, and it's also really good against Wind-Ups. You really got to disrupt Wind-Up's big push. Whenever they get Magician and Shark, you have to interrupt that in some way, and Fiendish Chain will do that. Of course, Skill Drain will do that for you also, but Fiendish Chain I feel like is going to be better against all of the meta, where I feel like Skill Drain is only going to be good against half the meta. Now, I've been singing the praises of this card for a long time. If they're not going to give us Royal Oppression back, I feel like this is the next best thing. The biggest reason I feel like this is so good against the meta and against special summoning as opposed to Royal Oppression is because I have the option to shut this off. Royal Oppression my opponent could always use and stop my special summoning also, but with this, if I've gotten to the point where I know that I've got control of the board, I don't need to stop them from special summoning anymore. I now have the chance to push for game myself, and I already have the other options that I need to stop whatever answers they may have to my OTK. I can shut this off by playing a number of cards. I can MST their back row, which would then destroy my Vanity's Emptiness and give me the chance to special summon. So now I can shut down all of their special summoning and still be able to give me the chance to activate all my special summoning too. So again, where your play with these decks was to get out your big boss monster with either a Malefic Skill Drain, or with a Malefic, or with Fire Dog or Rush Rhino or something along those lines with a Horn of the Phantom Beast on it. You get out your big monster and then you play Skill Drain so that they're not able to benefit off of their monster's effects. Now you can kind of do the same thing by going Malefic Cyber End and then bringing out activating Vanity's Emptiness. Now they cannot special summon to get over your 4,000k beater, and they really got to work to try to get past that, because if they can't use their monster's effects to special summon and to get into something bigger, they've really got to work to get past that, where normally they would just be able to go, you know, with any other play with just their monster's effects, say plants or wind-ups, be able to go into something that would maybe give them an answer to that. You can shut down their special summoning, which could stop that. Last but not least, an obvious replacement for Skill Drain would be Soul Drain. Very, very similar to Skill Drain. Of course, you pay the 1,000 life points to activate it. It is a continuous trap card, so it's going to stick around on the field. But then it also negates all the effects of monsters that are banished or in the graveyard. So basically what this would do is this could shut down some of the Dark World's effects to blow up stuff and to search and that kind of thing. This can shut down the Shining from being able to search. This can shut down Absolute Zero's effect to destroy. This can shut down a lot of some of the other stuff. Now also keep in mind that this will also shut down your TG engine, so probably not a good idea to play this with your TG stun. But just another option that we may have and we may need to use in order to take these stun decks and still be able to capitalize off of a card like Skill Drain, you know, where Vanity's Emptiness, Fiendish Chain, or Soul Drain could possibly be that card that you're needing. So just to recap what I've been talking about, guys, basically what was happening was these decks would bring out their big monsters, and then their real trump card, kind of their win condition, or one of their win conditions of their decks, was always Skill Drain, to shut everything your opponent was trying to do down. And with these decks being in the meta now, mainly Heroes and Dark Worlds, I really feel like I said, those, you know, of the 4 big decks, those are 2 of the 4 big decks, and they can main deck Skill Drain themselves. So it's really not that Skill Drain is worse against the meta than what it was before. It's just that now we're living in a meta that can also main deck Skill Drain. So you know, if you're playing one of these decks and your trump card's not as good, we got to start getting a little more creative, guys. We've got to find some more answers where Skill Drain won't be that for you anymore. So I appreciate that, guys. You know, like always, guys, I need you guys to subscribe, comment down below, show us how much you love us.